It's difficult to address all the kinds of insects and diseases you are likely to encounter in your region, but fortunately, square-foot gardens tend to suffer from fewer of these problems than traditional row gardens. They are easier to manage since square-foot gardens are smaller and more accessible than traditional gardens. I'm Dr. Denise DeBusk, and in this video, I'll cover some of the common pests and diseases and how to control them. When it comes to pest management, you should be taking an integrated approach. Integrated pest management, or IPM, is an effective and environmentally sensitive approach to pest management that relies on a combination of common sense practices. The management strategies include cultural control, mechanical or physical control, biological control, or chemical control. Cultural controls are practices that reduce the pest establishment, reproduction, dispersal, and survival of the pest. These can include changes to irrigation practices, removing diseased plant material through sanitation, or companion planting. This also includes genetic control through planting seeds that have resistance to diseases or insects. Physical or mechanical control includes spraying plants with water, using barriers or traps, or soil solarization. Biological control is the use of predators or parasites to manage pests, such as releasing ladybugs to control aphids. Lastly, chemical control uses pesticides such as insecticides and fungicides to manage pests. Some pesticides are more toxic to people and the environment, while others have low toxicity and are more environmentally safe. I will cover some of those in this presentation. When it comes to IPM, you should scout often. Check the undersides of leaves for pests and focus on looking at the whole plant for symptoms. For identification, the County Extension Service will often offer free services to help you identify your problem and offer solutions. Pests can be generally classified by how they eat. First, we have pests that chew the leaves. You will commonly find holes in leaves or plant parts missing. Flea beetles are small, dark, shiny beetles that can hop when disturbed. Larvae will feed on the roots of seedlings, while adults feed on the leaves and stems. Slugs and snails are soft-bodied with or without a shell with prominent antennae. They prefer moist areas and feed on the leaves and fruit. Hornworms are green worms with white bands and red horns that can get over 2 inches long. They can chew down a tomato within a few days. Cutworms are ugly gray-brown worms that have a greasy appearance. They come out at night and can cut the stems of seedlings. Cabbage worms are fuzzy, green, and slow-moving that can decimate the foliage of cruciferous vegetables. You can find recommended treatments of these pests in your workbook. The second type are piercing sucking insects that use a stylet mouthpart to inject into leaves or fruit and suck the contents out. These pests can often transmit viruses in their saliva. Aphids are tiny pear-shaped bugs found in groups. They can be green, yellow, pink, or black. They tend to feed on new growth. Mealybugs are pink, soft-bodied insects covered with a white, waxy, cottony material. Whiteflies are small, moth-like insects that are related to aphids and mealybugs. They will scatter when disturbed. They can cause silvering of the leaf tissue on the top side. Spider mites are tiny, 8-legged arachnids that produce webbing and cause stippling of the leaves. Stink bugs are medium-sized, triangular-shaped bugs that cause hard spots and discoloration in fruit where they feed, such as in tomatoes. Several of these pests are listed in the workbook with treatment suggestions. You can physically exclude pests by using physical barriers. You can place a floating cover early in the season to keep egg-laying pests such as the cabbage moth from landing on your plant and using it as their breeding ground. You would cover beds by placing the floating cover over the whole bed and weighing it down with stones. Air, light, and water can still get in, but the insect will not. You can also protect individual plants by wrapping the cover around the plant. For larger invaders, such as deer, raccoons, squirrels, birds, and other wildlife, you can protect your garden with a simple wire cage. It's also an easy way to keep family pets away. You would make it out of chicken wire, and you can lift it on and off of the garden as needed. You can even use it as a support for any other cover as well, such as a frost cloth, floating cover, or shade cloth. There are instructions for making the wire cage in the photo in my square foot gardening handout. You can also find another crop cage in the square foot gardening book. That crop cage has wood on the top and sides so you can make it taller, and it is typically made with nylon mesh rather than chicken wire. You can also use short or taller fences depending on your vertebrate pest. I put a short fence around my garden since I have a rabbit problem. In the planting video, I mentioned that companion planting was a good way to control pests. Planting radishes with your cucumbers can help with cucumber beetles, while growing nasturtiums with your squash can keep squash bugs away. Using these natural deterrents are a great cultural control method. Trap cropping is slightly different. You plant a crop that is more attractive to a pest on the perimeter of your garden, and when the pest feeds on that plant, you kill them before they reach your crop. An example of this is planting large sunflowers outside of your garden. Stink bugs and leaf-footed bugs are attracted to the blooms. You spray the bugs at dusk with a quick knockdown pesticide like permethrin after the bees are back in their hive. The other option is to throw them in soapy water. Sorghum and buckwheat are also trap crops. When it comes to the deer and rabbits, you can plant a strong scented herb around the perimeter of your garden to help protect it. Some plants that repel deer include chives, marigolds, Russian sage, bee balm, oregano, daffodils, iris, and lamb's ear. In addition to the herbs that repel deer, rabbits are also repelled by spicy globe basil, onions, leeks, lavender, mint, and lemon balm. Another technique I've seen used is to shred Irish Spring soap around the garden to repel deer. The scent is too strong for them. One of the simplest control strategies is to remove the pests by hand. You can remove the pests early to prevent them from being a significant problem. Many are slow-moving or can be washed or picked off. Spraying plants with water is a common strategy for aphids. I will also remove leaves that are heavily infested. Do not compost materials that have pests on them. You can also trap insects. There are pheromone traps for a variety of pests, including Japanese beetles and stink bugs. These traps are often brightly colored to attract the pest. Pheromones attract the pests, so you don't want to keep these traps inside of the garden. There are also instructions on the internet for DIY traps that you can make yourself. You can trap snails and slugs by placing stale beer in a shallow dish to attract snails and slugs. Make sure you dispose of the pests when you see them, because the beer only attracts them, not gets them drunk and kills them. You can also hang yellow sticky traps to catch flying insects such as whiteflies, beetles, and leaf miners. Hang them above your plants on a stake. Here are a couple of examples for individual plant protection. You can use cardboard tubes around seedlings when you plant them to keep cutworms from cutting the stem. For squash borers, you can use aluminum around the base of the stem. In the bottom photo, you can see the effect of squash borers. The moths deposit their eggs on the stems, and the larvae bore into the stem and feed on the inside, causing a quick decline of your entire plant. If you have pests, but you see that something else is eating it, then let nature do its work. For example, you see that this tomato hornworm has white cocoons all over it. You may be tempted to kill this caterpillar if you see it, but you would also kill all these parasitoid wasp babies that are about to emerge from the cocoons. It is best to let them kill it for you and emerge to control more hornworms. One way to increase the number of natural enemies that you have is to plant a diversity of crops and include various pollinator crops. Many adults of natural enemies feed on pollen, so by having these plants around, you naturally attract them. Alternatively, you can purchase various biological control agents and release them. Ladybugs are readily available to purchase. They eat a variety of soft-bodied insects. It is best to water your plants and release them at dusk in order for more of them to stay. Lacewing larvae also eat soft-bodied insects. You often purchase these as eggs and sprinkle the eggs that are in a bran material. There are also beneficial nematodes that can be applied to the soil to control some caterpillars like cutworms. They are sprayed onto the soil. They have to be applied quickly after receiving them. There are a couple of inexpensive homemade sprays that you can make to apply on plants to deter and kill pests such as aphids, ants, beetles, caterpillars, slugs, and whiteflies. You would add 4 cloves of minced garlic to a tablespoon of mineral oil and let it sit for a day. Strain out the minced garlic and add the oil and 1 teaspoon of dish soap to a pint of water. This is the concentrated form. To dilute it, fill a spray bottle with 1 pint of water and 2 tablespoons of the concentrate. Shake it and you're ready to use it. Test it on your plants to make sure that it is not too strong. If you see yellowing of your leaves, dilute it more. You can spray where you see insect damage. Make sure you spray under the leaves as well. An alternative homemade spray uses minced garlic and cayenne pepper that is boiled together and strained into a spray bottle using cheesecloth. For lettuce, don't spray garlic too close to the harvest date or your lettuce will taste like garlic. You can also make a 2% soapy water spray. Some pesticides such as 7-Dust are more toxic to people and the environment and can kill natural enemies, so we want to limit that use in the garden. There are several go-to pesticides that are more environmentally safe that I use in my garden. These first 3 are contact insecticides, so make sure that you spray the leaves where the insects are in order for them to work. Insecticidal soap can be used on several soft-bodied insects. It works by desiccating them. Horticultural oils suffocates pests and is effective for spider mites and scale insects. Neem oil, which comes from the neem tree, is effective on soft-bodied insects and some diseases. Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT, is a soil bacterium which has a protein that is toxic when ingested. This is effective for caterpillars. Spray this on the leaves that the caterpillar will eat. Diatomaceous earth can be effective for crawling pests like some ants, slugs, and earwigs. You can apply it to the soil where they will crawl or on the leaves. Pyrethrin, which is mentioned for trap crops, offers a quick knockdown of pests. It comes from the African chrysanthemum plant. Do not confuse this with pyrethroid, which is synthetic, has a long residual, and is not environmentally friendly. With all pesticides, make sure you are following the label directions. Diseases caused by fungi, bacteria, and viruses can occasionally cause problems in the garden. Fungi and bacteria spread through water, so limiting the amount of water on the leaves through your irrigation can greatly reduce your problems. By having a diversity of crops in your garden, you can also reduce the dispersal of pathogens because diseases are often species-specific, unlike many insect pests. That is why it is important to spread your crops over several gardens if you want to plant a lot of any one crop. If you have a crop that becomes diseased, make note of which cultivar that crop was and identify the disease by the symptoms. The next year you can start your own seeds and look for seeds that have resistance to that disease to keep it from recurring again in the garden. For example, notice that this packet of Cloudy Day hybrid tomatoes is resistant to early and late blight. So if you had that problem previously, then this would be a good cultivar to grow. These are some common diseases of vegetables. Powdery mildew is caused by a fungus forming spots or patches of white to grayish talcum powder-like growth. This is common on cucumber and squash plants. You can use a homemade baking soda treatment or diluted milk to treat this disease. Downy mildew causes yellow spots between the veins of a leaf with fuzz on the underside of the leaf. These also infect cucurbit plants as well as cruciferous plants, basil, sunflowers, and spinach. Late blight is a devastating disease of tomatoes and potatoes, causing the leaves, stems, and fruit to get blotches that spread. Bacterial leaf spot causes small, water-soaked leaf spots on the older leaves of the plant. It affects cabbage, lettuce, pepper, and celery. Fusarium wilt is a fungus that lives in the soil that causes crops like sweet potatoes, tomatoes, melons, and beans to wilt and die. Keep in mind that there are many more diseases that I haven't mentioned. When you see a plant with shriveled or spotted leaves, rotten fruit, or other signs of disease, you can pick away the diseased portions immediately and discard them. If you use garden shears to prune diseased leaves, then disinfect your shear by spraying them with a 10% alcohol or bleach solution. This is because diseases can easily be spread from plant to plant. Do not add this material to your compost pile. If the plant's problem is severe, remove the entire plant, including the roots, and discard it. Some pathogens might remain in the soil after you remove the diseased plant. Diseases that cause wilt often do. Nematodes, microscopic roundworms that migrate from your native soil through any barrier underneath, can also wreak havoc on your plants if left uncontrolled. Root knot nematodes are often identified after you remove the plant and see large nodules all over the roots. This is where the female nematodes feed and reproduce. You can either remove the males mix or sterilize the soil by solarization. To solarize the soil, moisten the soil, then cover the garden bed with clear plastic weighed down with bricks and allow it to sit in the sun for 4 to 6 weeks during the summer. The heat that builds up within the box will kill any pathogens or nematodes living there. Here are some of the fungicides that I keep on hand. Keep in mind that many fungicides do not kill the pathogen but stop it from spreading. You often have to reapply it every couple of weeks. Copper fungicide and chlorothalonil work on a wide range of diseases. Sulfur is more effective on rust, leaf spot, powdery mildew, and some insects. Neem oil is mainly for insect control but will work on powdery mildew as well. Follow the label directions for all of these products. Pests and diseases are often what causes a gardener to pull their hair out because it is not black and white when it comes to managing pests. You may spray a pesticide, but it may not fully control the pest. So you want to take an integrated approach to controlling pests and not rely on a single method. There are many more strategies than what I covered in this video, but hopefully this gives you a good starting point. So what are your next steps? Depending on your situation, such as if you know you have certain vertebrate pests, you may want to build some additional structures. You may want to purchase a couple of general pesticides to have on hand for when the pests come. Hopefully you got some useful tips on how to manage pests and diseases on your crops. Make sure you inspect your plant often so that you can manage them quickly.